6 o'clock in the morning, actually 5 after 6, the 3rd of June 2020. I haven't slept yet. Uh, um, the recording of the voice you get, and generally the sounds I make are not really my voice. It's very difficult to speak with my voice right now, with all they have put in. Anyway, um, that was actually to be about politics. And a different addressee. But actually, I'm really curious. Why didn't I know about all those things that were actually trying to reach my world, but never did? Well, I didn't even know that Ricky Martin got the reward. But that is not surprising because on the 9th of 2001, my father passed away, and he had been in hospital before. That was pretty weird, actually. I remember that I felt very guilty because I went to the bank to get money. We had, well, I had my own account, um, but that was, of course, from my dad. And I would take the, what do you call it, the interest? I'm not sure if you have interest in banks. I don't remember the terms. I was learning them, but what they do to my memory is I learn something and they take it and give it to someone else. I have learned a lot of things, so they had a lot of possible resources. Anyway, I went to get the money, which would normally be good enough for. I'm quite modest on the whole, so that would be good enough for a year. That was the arrangement I had. And instead of returning home, I went to Tesco. And my father got very nervous and he got a stroke. In his brain. Um, and he got paralyzed and he never spoke again, and he was in hospital at the time. So that's probably, but I was not following the situation either. Just a coincidence. 3 days after the reward, I watched the video today. I watched it just a few minutes ago, perhaps several minutes ago. But I was actually going to talk about politics because of the things that are happening in the United States. About politicians, perhaps not about politics, but about politicians. So first of all, on the whole situation in the United States, I have my own reading of a lot of things, and I do have suspicions concerning the black power as such, which would be racist actually, where obviously the black race has the supremacy. But as it is, I am afraid that this really can be the case where you have a situation created so that people would react. And at the level where I am now, I would be even, I would even suspect situations where someone from your own family kills another person to create the effect. So I have indeed found myself in a very crazy world. Um, but this is the first point I want to make, that you know, there was the situation. I don't know the details of the situation, but even if I knew them from my experience with the police, I don't think that I would take them as fully reliable either. So there's a situation which I want to really see as the citizen versus the state. rather than the black man versus the white policeman. Um, because I think that racism is one of those issues you can really um, exploit. And when I had a look at the in Twitter, and I responded to 2 or 3 posts. Um, One of them was a woman who was shot in the face, if I understood correctly. Quite shocking. But that is again, that I would again view it as the citizen and the state. I mean, what sort of relationship it is between the citizen and the state. These are unthinkable occurrences. And in Poland we also had quite weird situations when this is again the movement that I do not support, and I'm really angry because whenever I want to comment on a situation, I get the people coming into my life, and this is really blocking. But perhaps this is really the politics to shut them out. Should we do that or not? I don't know. These are definitely crazy times. But the environmental movement, the Greta, whom I hate because she attacked me and my mom, especially my mom. But when they went to the street and well, afterwards they did not look too well, to be honest. And there were also situations. So these people, I want to make it clear, these people are my enemies. Not only they are not opponents in the political sense, because we no longer have anything like opposition. This is what has happened in Poland. We used to have opposition. Now we do not have opposition. We have enemies, and the enemies with the mentality that says you are to destroy your enemy. So we are no longer in a dialogue. We are in. There are wars going on. I am the unlucky one to be at war with all due to what they have done to my body. But what I want to say, imagine the situation where there's a girl running and there are people clutching at her, and she's my enemy. Oh, right, but then what sort of relationship is it? And the army getting more and more like the Chinese one. This is a general phenomenon, and that was the same in Spain. So when I had a look at the pictures from Spain, when they had, I don't remember exactly what it was. It was Catalonia, or but perhaps I'm confusing something. But there was some independence movement, and I also looked at them, and perhaps there were Assanges there. So this is again the enemy. But when you see the relationship again between the citizen and the state, you can see the police that is becoming more and more like the Chinese, it's really hard to pinpoint it, but you see the change. So I always say that at the time of communism, before the policemen, the militia actually in Poland, had to take drugs. So they were using gas. My mom was one of the victims accidentally, because she was not in any protest. She was just in the street, and she got the gas treatment in the eyes. But they were dragging them to do that, and now they don't need to drag them anymore. So this is a sort of movement that goes on the side of the state, the police becoming like that, and I really have the intuition that we I can not explain why, but that we should, if anyone is trying to do something about it, we should really rephrase it as the citizen and the state. So what the state cannot do to the citizen, and come back to the norms and ask ourselves questions. Well, perhaps this is difficult in the United States because you have this, or was it England? Do not ask what you can do for your state. Ask what you do not ask what the state can do for you. Ask what you can do for the state, or something like that. I don't remember if it was England or the United States. But then, if we think of it, what do we have the state for? So we have the state so that we would not run mad in tribes and kill each other. So the idea of order is important, but this is also, well, how are we to relate to, how those two are to relate to one another. So this is generally about the situation, about the racism, because I believe that if you start speaking, if you start using the racism speak, you create a huge movement that can be, I quoted that too in my reply, a pageant to keep the rest, to keep us all actually in a false gaze. So, you know, because people, this is very engaging. It's hardly ever that people are indifferent to the issue of color. So you either believe that, for goodness sake, or you believe that no, I'm white, no, I'm black, no, I'm yellow. And I also mentioned it that because there was a point made about the white superiority. So I also mentioned it, well, the yellow one is coming. So generally, we also shouldn't get into the trap where we kill each other just to make the passage clear for the third party. So this is in general terms. Now, because people comment on Trump and on Barack Obama, so I have the personal experience, funnily enough, being Polish. And as I said, if I were to vote in the USA, I would probably vote for Trump, but I would tell him what I think. And I have, of course, we have problem with black people and with the Latinos. What do you say in English? Latin American people. But generally, I think that there are some issues which need to perhaps get some order, but well, the president must be the president of the whole nation. But I think there's also a problem of the definition of what the American nation is, which I mentioned in my speech to the Congress. I had to make this speech because after I listened, first I listened to Lech Wałęsa in front of the Congress. So Lech Wałęsa, I don't know if you know the name, but generally he's the person still existing in the history as the one who made the communism fall in Poland and Eastern Europe as one of the inspirations that have made that one of those who made it actually, and he's a Nobel Prize winner too. And he had an address in the USA, and what the USA Congress did with that address is quite amazing. He was direct, and he used simple language, very well measured in his speech. It does not show in translation, but in Polish it's quite obvious. The translation was manipulated, even some meanings were perverted. And well, he was actually strong in Polish, but in English, he sounds like, you know, some kind of liquor. I mean, you know, lick the American ass, which he was not, definitely. Uh, these things are happening really. And he was really belittled in the Congress. But that was there was still this aura of respect for the noble leader, or perhaps not noble, but the leader, the fighter for the freedom, and you know, the elderly man. But still, you know, he's not really gone yet. Um, but then the reporting and that was after his address was really interesting. The reporting where Poland became one of the countries with sliding democracy, that's how you call it. So, you know, Hungary and Poland, and what else was it? Turkey? I don't remember exactly. And at the same time, of course, Donald Trump and Andrzej Duda were shown in Poland as friends, because I'm not sure if you are aware of that, but we are great, very important friends for the United States. You know, just like Pakistan, I believe. Still, Poland is very proud. So, especially Andrzej Duda is very proud, the president. So there was a terrible clash between the picture of the relations we get in Poland and what was actually happening in the Congress. And after that, I decided to make my speech. And in that speech, I don't have the status, the formal status, but you know, as the citizen, I can have a say. And I wanted to say something important. And in that speech, I mentioned the problem of the nation. So, what is really the American nation? And you know, it connects with the question of pentagram, actually. And it's so funny. Sometimes I'm wondering if all my problems do not start there. I was a teacher, and I was responsible for my class. That was the 5th grade, 12-year-olds in Nishki in 2003 and 2004. And one day when I was having the English lesson with the 4th grade, well, the atmosphere and the discipline were quite not too strict. So sometimes someone would stand up and walk somewhere during my class. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but perhaps it was at the beginning of the lesson. There was a chair, and a boy did not want to sit on it because it had a pentagram, pentagram on it, painted in white. And he was really scared to sit on it. So I sat on it, and I could not understand the scare, and perhaps I was not right at all. Perhaps he was right, but all the same, I wanted to somehow change the fear. And I recalled the romance from the Middle Ages, the English literature, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And this is the quote that you can find on my site on Twitter about the pentagram, which is totally Christian. So this is a good thing to, I mean, totally Christian in the sense that it answers the needs of the Christians, but it actually takes, as it is presented there, it takes us further, because it also directs us towards peace between Muslims, Jews, and Christians. So this is totally powerful. And then, I'm not sure if it's true, but I have heard that Washington was built on the there was a design of pentagram below, and on that Washington was built. So we are actually asking nowadays about the identity of the United States, the Washington. Well, so which pentagram is it really? Is it the Satanist one, or is it the primary one? And there is this question, the Bin Laden talking about the Satan, and I can see the Satan actually, and you probably are much more in the subject than I will ever be, because I don't want to travel in that direction. But on the whole, if you think of the United States, the founding fathers are, of course, Christian. And so there is this huge question of the identity. So this is another issue involved. Where is it going, and what is happening actually on the spiritual level, in the spiritual dimension of existence of the nation. Then, what are we really dealing with? Are the black and Latin American, are the African and Latin American people going to destroy our English breed? Or is it going to be a war so that Chinese could come and take over afterwards when they kill each other? The next question is actually people. So, well, Barack Obama, I mean, this is not a reliable president when he attacks an innocent person and destroys him or her. And this is exactly what Barack Obama did to me. A woman from Poland, a private person, a law-abiding citizen. I mean, through Rihanna, of course. But this is the President of the United States. And an innocent person. And then you have Donald Trump, who just took over. So they are worth each other, I think. The situation in Poland is similar. So I think that's more or less what I wanted to say on politics. Similar in the sense of the politicians boiling down to the same thing, really. Especially if we think of it in terms of the citizen, the state. So I believe that if people have the power, have the brains, and know how to do things, which I do not, but maybe it's also good because I also believe in the power of no prior education, which makes you free, and you are able to think in a different way then. Because if you are, you have been preparing for being a politician all your life, so you know all those schools that have already been, and you know how to behave, and no faux pas in your case. So this is different, but then you also have thinking. So when you hear A, you know B, C, D, E, and so on. And when you don't know your ABC, you might actually come up with something innovative. So I think that's more or less what I wanted to say. Well, hello again. I wanted you to see what I look like on TV, so that you could understand all those annihilation. I'm not sure about this. When I think of it, it does feel like an order, but I don't remember why I should have the power. And I know that this is not Rothschild, this is me. And this is to my cosmic tribe. Obviously, I need to respond to the destruction that is taking place in my life. So I don't know how it's all going to develop. I went. This is in my previous recording actually, but I went to the unemployed to the office for the unemployed, and they were there with the camera. Definitely, they could do a better job to show me a bit better, but obviously they did not want to do that. But they showed the person who has been one of the key figures in the ruin. Still, I think that this person is also a cover. So she did. He. I decided to call him he. He did it to me for sure, but there are other people of much more power behind. And when you compare my previous recording from 2015, when I speak in 6 languages, trying to somehow, I'm not the kind of person who wants enthusiasm. I don't, generally I don't accept, I accept such leadership in other people, but the leadership I like is, let's understand each other, and let's use our brains, and let's think, and let's say what we think, what our problems really are, and let's think of our purposes, and let's try to work together on it to see the consequences. And there's a problem because I'm honest and other people are not. But also there's the strategic problem. Well, I cannot tell you what I want, because when I tell you what I want, it's not going to happen, or something of the kind. But generally, I think of it in different terms. So not the wave that I carry with me, even though I probably could. But this is not my style. I want understanding, and I want conviction, not coming from whatever other than the sense. So this is what I actually presented in the recording in 6 languages. I also believe that such presentations should become rules. So if you deal with that person, you should respect the rules. And if you see me in 2015 and me today, that is yesterday, you should understand, and this is only one aspect, this is just the looks. And of course, there's a lot underneath happening all the time. Agnieszka Beata Magdalena Rojek.